The atmosphere around the San Francisco 49ers feels different this week, and you can sense at the moment the team steps off the practice field. Preparation is intense, focused, and charged with the reality that Saturday night in Seattle is not just another playoff game. It is a divisional round showdown with a trip to the NFC Championship game on the line. Every rep, every drill, every conversation carries weight because one mistake ends the season and one complete performance keeps the dream alive. Wednesday's practice offered a clearer picture of where this roster stands physically as the countdown continues. There were encouraging signs, a few concerns, and one development that almost feels unreal when you consider the timeline. The 49ers are managing injuries carefully, knowing that availability and depth could be the difference against a Seahawks team that thrives on chaos at home. In the secondary, the absence of Jair Brown stood out immediately. The hamstring issue kept him off the field again, and at this point it is hard to imagine him being ready for Saturday. That reality explains recent roster decisions and forces the coaching staff to lean on younger players and depth pieces in a hostile environment. The safety group is likely to feature a rookie who has already shown he can handle big moments, paired with a physical presence who brings energy and aggression on the back end. It is not ideal, but it is the reality of January football. On the offensive side, there was positive momentum with a speedy wide receiver returning as a full participant. His practice window opened recently, and while expectations remain cautious, the fact that he is moving freely matters. Speed changes defensive behavior, even if it is used selectively. End arounds, quick screens, and motion concepts could all be on the table if the coaching staff feels confident enough to trust him in live action. Trust, especially at receiver, is earned slowly in this system. At linebacker, the situation remains fluid. One key player missed practice again, which could once more thrust a pair of veterans into prominent roles. What they showed last week was impressive, not just statistically, but in terms of awareness and communication. They played fast, decisive football, rarely out of position, and missed very few tackles. Their experience showed up in subtle ways, directing traffic, anticipating run fits, and understanding coverage responsibilities. For players who were not part of the original plan earlier in the season, their impact has been significant. Along the defensive front, several contributors were limited but present. That alone is important at this stage. Pressure up front changes everything, especially against a quarterback who can extend plays. There were flashes in the previous game that showed how disruptive this group can be when healthy enough to rotate and attack. Even limited participation midweek suggests optimism heading towards Saturday. The offensive line, however, might be the most important storyline developing. Seeing the left tackle fully involved in practice is massive for this team. His presence transforms the entire unit. It is not just about one-on-one blocking. It is about confidence, play calling, and rhythm. When he is on the field, the run game looks different, lanes open up, and the quarterback feels safer stepping into throws. The contrast is stark when he is absent, and recent numbers against Seattle make that painfully clear. His return could swing the matchup in a very real way. Another encouraging sight was a wide receiver working his way back from a tricky knee injury. Watching him move, you could see controlled acceleration, clean cuts, and confidence in his stride. He caught passes, ran routes, and did more than he has in weeks. The mental side of that injury is just as important as the physical, and his own belief that he can play speaks volumes. Earlier in the season, he punished this same Seahawks defense for over 100 yards and delivered in critical moments. If he is able to suit up, it reshapes the receiving rotation and stabilizes the offense. That potential return also affects the roster beyond just offense. It could limit the need to elevate additional receivers, freeing up flexibility elsewhere. In January, those small roster decisions matter. Special teams roles, defensive depth, and emergency options all come into play when injuries pile up. And then there's the storyline that almost defies logic. Watching the all-pro linebacker on the practice field does not feel real when you remember what happened in mid-December. An ankle injury of that severity usually ends seasons, yet here he is, moving with bounce, cutting, running, and even attacking sleds with visible force. He did not look tentative. He did not look cautious. He looked like himself. Officially, he remains limited, and the team continues to stress that boxes must be checked. But seeing him out there changes the emotional tone of the entire week. Teammates notice. Coaches notice. Opponents notice. His recovery has been handled carefully, guided by constant communication with medical staff, and nothing about his return appears rushed or reckless. He has been clear that he will not put himself at unnecessary risk, especially in a game as violent and unforgiving as this one. The idea that he could potentially play on Saturday, even if only in a controlled role, feels almost unprecedented. 3 months removed from a broken and dislocated ankle, he is moving like a player who belongs on the field. His leadership alone carries value, but his instincts, range, and presence in the middle of the defense elevate everyone around him. He is the emotional engine of this team, the standard bearer, and one of the most respected figures in the locker room. All of this unfolds against the backdrop of a Seahawks team dealing with its own injury questions. Their star pass rusher appeared on the report earlier in the week, raising immediate concern, though his progression back to full participation eased some of that worry. Anytime an Achilles is mentioned, alarms go off, but signs currently point toward availability. More curious is the situation along Seattle's offensive line, where their highly paid left tackle saw his workload reduced after previously practicing in full. That is something to monitor closely because edge protection against this defensive front is critical. If he is limited or compromised, it could tilt the matchup in the trenches. As the 49ers continue to stack practices, the picture becomes clearer but not complete. Health, execution, and mental toughness will decide this game. Seattle at night is unforgiving, loud, and relentless, and the margin for error is razor thin. Every update, every rep, and every recovery effort feeds into what will ultimately be revealed under the lights on Saturday. As the week moves forward, the tension continues to build because this matchup demands precision in every phase. The 49ers understand that Seattle is a different challenge when played on the road, especially at night, where momentum can swing violently on a single snap. Preparation is not just about health reports, but about discipline, communication, and emotional control when the environment turns hostile. One of the biggest areas of emphasis internally has been handling pressure moments. Seattle thrives on extending plays, forcing defenses to hold coverage longer than expected, and creating chaos when assignments break down. That places enormous stress on the linebackers and safeties, particularly if communication is even slightly delayed. The possibility of veteran leadership returning to the middle of the defense would change those dynamics instantly. But even without that presence, the expectation is clear. This defense must play fast, trust its keys, and tackle cleanly in space. Up front, the defensive line rotation becomes critical. Even limited participation during the week suggests that the coaching staff expects to have multiple bodies available to keep legs fresh. Against a quarterback who can escape and reset, pass rush lanes matter just as much as raw pressure. Overcommitting opens escape routes, while patience can force mistakes. That balance will define whether the 49ers can dictate the pace defensively. Offensively, the conversation keeps circling back to physicality. When this team is at its best, it controls the line of scrimmage and forces defenses to react. The return of a cornerstone along the offensive line reestablishes that identity. Run concepts become more diverse, play action becomes more threatening, and the quarterback gains the freedom to step up rather than drift. That changes everything, especially against a Seattle defense that struggled to contain the run late in the season. The receiving group also feels more stable with the potential return of a proven option. Even if he is not 100%, his presence commands attention. Defenses remember past performances, and that memory influences coverage decisions. It creates space for others, opens intermediate windows, and allows the offense to stay balanced rather than predictable. Balance is essential in a playoff environment where one-dimensional football rarely survives. There is also a psychological element to this game that cannot be ignored. Seattle believes in its home field advantage, but the 49ers carry confidence from knowing they can win there. That belief comes from preparation, experience, and leadership. Veteran players who have been through playoff battles understand how quickly emotions can spiral. Their role this week has been just as much about stabilizing younger teammates as it has been about individual performance. Special teams preparation has quietly taken on added importance as well. In a tight postseason game, field position swings matter. Clean exchanges, disciplined lane integrity, and situational awareness can add hidden yards that do not show up immediately on the stat sheet, but shape the flow of the game. The coaching staff has emphasized minimizing risk while still being aggressive when opportunities present themselves. Seattle's injury situation adds another layer of uncertainty. A compromised offensive line could invite pressure, but assuming availability would be a mistake. The 49ers know better than a plan around limitations that may not exist on game day. Instead, the focus remains on executing their own assignments regardless of who lines up across from them. That mindset has been repeated all week, and it reflects a maturity that comes from recent postseason experience. The emotional heartbeat of the team continues to revolve around leadership figures who set the tone in practice. Seeing players push through rehab milestones, participate in drills, and show visible confidence has lifted the energy level across the roster. Those moments matter, especially late in the season when fatigue accumulates and doubt can creep in. Momentum is built as much during the week as it is on game day. As Saturday approaches, clarity will replace speculation. Practice participation will turn into availability decisions, and plans will solidify. Yet there is still an edge of unpredictability hanging over this matchup. That is the nature of playoff football. One unexpected play, one adjustment, one moment of brilliance or breakdown can reshape the narrative instantly. For the 49ers, the goal remains simple in concept and complex in execution. Play disciplined football, control the trenches, protect the ball, and impose physicality from the opening drive. Everything else flows from that foundation. The pieces are coming together, the urgency is real, and the stage is set for a game that will demand every ounce of focus, toughness, and belief this roster can muster as they prepare to step into one of the most challenging environments in the league and test whether all of this preparation is enough when it matters most. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Stephen A. Smith has once again stirred the NFL pot, this time turning his sights on the San Francisco 49ers. In a fiery on-air segment, the outspoken analyst didn't hold back, suggesting that the 49ers head coach, Kyle Shanahan, has a reputation for faltering when the stakes are highest. He's the king of choking when it matters most, Smith declared, igniting a wave of debate across social media and sports talk shows. For years, Shanahan has been praised for his innovative offensive schemes and his ability to develop quarterbacks. But Smith's criticism highlights a persistent narrative among fans and critics alike, that despite his tactical brilliance, Shanahan struggles to deliver in critical moments. The commentator's remarks have already sparked a flurry of speculation about the internal dynamics of the 49ers locker room. Are the players truly confident in Shanahan's leadership during the playoffs? Or is there a growing sense of doubt that could impact team morale? Sources close to the team, who prefer to remain anonymous, suggest that Shanahan's reputation for melting under pressure is not entirely unfounded. While he has led the team to multiple deep playoff runs, there have been notable instances where strategic decisions in pivotal games have drawn criticism from both analysts and former players. Some insiders argue that Shanahan's aggressive play calling, usually a strength, occasionally backfires at critical junctures, leaving his team vulnerable. The fallout from Smith's comments has already reached the front offices and fan forums, with debates raging over whether the 49ers should reconsider their coaching approach or double down on Shanahan's system. Meanwhile, Rival teams may see this as an opportunity to exploit what some perceive as a psychological weak spot in the 49ers' leadership. Betting circles and fantasy leagues are abuzz with speculation, as fans and pundits try to predict how the team will respond under the glare of pressure. While Kyle Shanahan has not publicly addressed the criticism, the comments from Stephen A. Smith have injected a fresh wave of drama into the NFL landscape. Whether Shanahan can silence his doubters and prove Smith wrong remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: the league, the fans, and the media will be watching closely, ready to pounce on any sign of hesitation. The 49ers' next big test could become the ultimate stage to either validate or challenge Shanahan's legacy. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.